Hello everyone, this is Arc3 with another swgoh video, and for today we have something special as I recently unlocked Starkiller. It has been a long journey and I'm really happy for finally unlocking him. As you're watching the montage when I unlock Starkiller, you may be wondering what characters go with Starkiller in order for him to be very effective, and of course the teams you can build with his requirements. So for today, I'm going to show you the various teams you can form and why these teams are optimal given the current state of the meta. So let's get started. So we're now in my loadout screen and let's discuss one by one the different teams you can form from Starkiller teams to Mara Jade teams, of course Dash Rendar, Kalkatarn, and lastly Darth Talon. So going back up, let's begin with Starkiller himself. So the first team you can form is Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade, Starkiller himself, Visasmar, and then Barriss Ophi. Of course, this team composition works because Starkiller needs at least one unaligned force user that is dark side, one unaligned force user that is light side. So one, how do we say this? Sufu? Yeah, Sufu, and then one Lufu so that it can work. Otherwise, the team composition will fail. And this, by the way, guys, only works in Grand Arena where he has this Omicron. There is much conflict in you. So if you haven't unlocked already, this is the first Omicron you should go. With this team composition, you can actually defeat Galactic Legends. Unfortunately, I still do not have footage for this, but I've seen footage from other content creators already. But I've seen other content creators do this already in the past. So this is actually possible as long as you mod them properly. Now, with regards to mods, this is how I modded these five characters. So first for Emperor Palpatine, for the mods, I have like a health set, tenacity, and of course defense. But in terms of my primaries, mostly protection on the cross, circle, triangle, and of course the arrow. Not much for speed, simply because his speed will be based on turn meter gain on his leadership ability. That's why Myra Jade is here so that the more debuffs she gives, the more turn meter he gets. So speed is not important for Emperor Palpatine, but you have to focus on survivability so that he can tank like hits such as Race Whirlwind. Now moving on for Mara Jade, your modding for her would be focusing more on speed and potency, where she has to land debuffs as much as possible so that Emperor Palpatine can gain turn meter. Now currently the speed of my Mara Jade is only 131. This is already quite decent, but it can still go higher. I've seen Mara Jade speeds that reached around 160 plus. So if you can hit around that benchmark as much as possible, then that would already be great because the faster Mara Jade is, the earlier she can use her special for landing those turn meter removal debuffs. And of course, you can also beat other Starkiller mirror matches when your Mara Jade is faster. Okay, so that's all for Mara Jade in terms of her mods. Now, moving on for Starkiller, there are actually different ways to mod him. I've seen people modding him for health because of his Star Destroyer ultimate thingy, where he brings down like a Star Destroyer once he gets 100 stacks of Force Energy. And of course, this is based on his max health. So for my part, I decided to mod him for offense simply because I do not want to rely on the ultimate ability in terms of damage. Rather, I wanted to rely on his, of course, basics and special abilities so that we can reach 100 stacks as soon as possible. So that's all for Starkiller. Now for Visasmar, now her modding is quite straightforward. All you need to do is to mod her for speed and of course for health. Of course, protection cross, circle. For now, I have like health triangle, but ideally protection as well. And of course, speed on the arrow. Now, what she does is just provide healing and utility on the team, where in case someone dies, you can like just revive them immediately with dark healing. And then lastly is Barriss Ophi, where of course, very straightforward. All you need to do is mod her for health simply because her basic ability deals damage based off her max health, and her healing every time she uses her basic is also based on her max health. So everything health on her, and putting her in this team provides additional utility and of course durability overall whenever you face against Galactic Legends. Lastly, to end the first team, we've spent so much time on the first team alone. The team composition can only be used in offense. If you place this team on defense, they will not give you as much wins as possible. However, if you need to place this team on defense, this is the second team composition you can form. So instead of using Barris OP, you have to use Old Ben instead in case you're not needing him. And of course, he has to be modded in um, health or maybe defense with protection, primaries on the circle, cross as much as possible. For now, I have defense because I don't have a protection cross. Triangle also either health or protection, and as much as possible a protection arrow. Unfortunately, as I don't have a protection arrow, so I decided to like put speed instead. So if you're gonna use Old Ben instead of Barris Ophi, then I highly suggest to use this team on defense instead. Because if we're gonna use this on offense, it may still work, but it will all depend on Mara Jade's speed. If she's slow, then that will be very tricky when you're gonna be up against Galactic Legends compositions where their leader themselves are like 500 plus speed. So I highly suggest to use this team composition, Starkiller 2 as a defensive team for 5v5. Now, second to the last would be this team composition. This is quite interesting. I've seen this in Territory Wars. Instead of using this as smart, people are using Cal Kestis simply because of his not so fast ability here, where he provides debuffs, and of course, more debuffs would mean faster turns for Emperor Palpatine himself. Another reason why Cal Kestis is preferred, besides giving debuffs on the enemy, is because of his unique ability here, where at the start of the battle, all unaligned Force users would be gaining 30% max health and tenacity, and whenever Cal reaches 20 stacks of persistence, he would be giving everyone defense up and protection up for 2 turns. So technically, he's a utility character where he gives more durability and at the same time survivability to the whole team. So that is the third team. Now, lastly is the Territory War team. So the composition here, of course, mostly the same, but instead of Barris Ophi or Obi-Wan Kenobi, we would be using Johanny. Normally, when you're gonna use Johanny, this is already expected on defense, and you need to put the Omicron on Johanny, otherwise, the entire team falls apart. So now let's move on to the next team, which is Emperor Palpatine, Mara Jade, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Admiral Piet, and Royal Guard. Now, as much as possible, you have to put Emperor Palpatine on the leadership slot simply because Mara Jade's unique grants everyone 20% offense and potency. Because if there's a different leader on the leadership slot, they would be getting useful pawn where they would have minus 5% critical chance damage and offense. That is why it's important for Emperor Palpatine to be on the leadership slot if ever you want to use Mara Jade. Now, of course, this is standard already for everyone. Grand Admiral Thrawn is here simply because of his fracture, and in terms of modding, as much as possible, speed. Of course, Admiral Piet here for the debuffs and dazes, as well as the Emperor's Trap ability. So that's all for the Mara Jade squad. Now let's move on to the Dash Rendar teams. Now there are two variants. Now the first variant is Dash Rendar, Beskar Mando, Vander Chewbacca, IG-11, and Kui. You can use this on offense or defense. What makes this good on offense is, of course, there's so much damage, like from Dash Rendar alone and Beskar Mando. And of course, there's also so much durability coming from IG-11, Kui, and of course, Vander Chewbacca where Vander Chewbacca, because he's always prepared, would actually revive your allies in case they die. This is actually almost a, how do we say this, always alive team. Whereas if we're going for the second variant, this is actually more for defensive purposes in GAC. This team has the potential to take away as many banners as possible on the opposing team. Since Dash Rendar's leadership ability here always provides prepared in GAC, now, that means L3 would be taunting, and of course, um, Han Solo would be providing much damage. But the thing that would make this good is actually Hondo Onaka. So, what makes Hondo Onaka good is his ransom ability here, where in GAC, he provides the team with 25% turn meter for each scoundrel and smuggler ally. Now, since he would be having like four scoundrel or smuggler allies, that would mean everyone has 100% turn meter. So you are guaranteed or almost guaranteed to like move first against the opponent. So that is why Hondo Onaka is actually vital in this team composition GAC defense. So that's all for the Dash Rendar teams. Now moving on for the Mon Mothma teams, there are actually two variants. Of course, the common one is Mon Mothma, Kalkatarn, Bistan, Pao, and then of course Rebel Pathfinder. I won't go in depth already with this team. This is actually a very common team, and a lot of content creators already discussed this in depth, especially with the second team, where the team composition is Mon Mothma, Kalkatarn, Cara Dune, Hoth Rebel Scout, and Pao. Now let's discuss the last two teams, namely the Malgos Talon team and of course the common Talon squad. Now for the Malgos Talon team, this is actually a very unique composition because the trick here is that Talon, whenever the leader gets hit, would be getting 5% turn meter gain. So that means Darth Malgos here, since he's always taunting, would be getting turn meter every time he gets hit. He would be moving more, and of course, he would be using his abilities and specials more that can whittle down the opposing side in the hopes of either taking away banners or time out the opposing team. Now, of course, the last one would be the common one, which is Darth Deia, Darth Talon, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Sion. I will leave the fifth slot open because there are a lot of variants. Like you can use Sith Marauder, Sith Assassin, and of course, Sith Trooper. A lot of people use Sith Trooper here simply because he provides a secondary taunt to Darth Sion. Now, the important thing here is that you need to put the Omicron on Darth Deia because this Omicron provides a lot of damage, health, and of course durability on her. As long as there's no like Galactic Legends on the other side. Even though Omicron got nerfed in terms of killing Galactic Legends, this team is still useful in offense when taken on more difficult team compositions that you may face. So that's all in today's video. I hope you guys picked up something new today. May the force be with you, amazing holotable heroes, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys!